People walking to work stopped and looked up as a massive shadow covered the entire city. The shadow was not from clouds or storms, but from something much worse, something that should not exist high above Earth. A giant alien warship floated in space. Like a dark metal mountain, the ship was so huge it blocked out the sun over half of South Korea. Its surface was covered with strange symbols and glowing lights that pulsed like a heartbeat inside. The alien ship General Kwan Ho stood on his command bridge looking down at the small blue planet below him. He was not human at all. His skin was covered in green scales like a lizard, and he had 4 strong arms instead of 2. His yellow eyes glowed with excitement as he studied Earth through the ship's sensors. This will be easy, he thought to himself. These humans look weak and soft, just like all the other species. I have conquered. General Kwan Ho had been conquering planets for over 200 years. He had destroyed armies, captured kings, and made entire civilizations bow down before the mighty galactic empire. Earth would be just another name on his long list of victories. The general turned to his second-in-command, Admiral Vex, who was standing nearby. Admiral Vex looked similar to the general but was smaller and had only 2 arms instead of 4. Admiral Vex, the general said in his deep voice that sounded like rocks grinding together, send the surrender message to these humans. Tell them they have 1 day to give us what we want. Admiral Vex bowed his scaly head. Yes, General Kwan Ho, it will be done. Far below on Earth, people were starting to panic. The giant alien ship was visible from every country on the planet. News reporters were talking fast on television, trying to explain what was happening, but nobody really knew what to do. Secret military bases around the world, alarms were ringing loud. Generals and admirals were running into meeting rooms. Presidents and prime ministers were making urgent phone calls. But deep under the Pacific Ocean, in a hidden base that most people did not know existed, someone very different was getting ready. Commander Lee Dong-woo was 35 years old and had been a Navy SEAL for 15 years. He was not the biggest or strongest soldier, but he was the most determined. When other people gave up, Dong-woo kept fighting when missions seemed impossible. Dong-woo found a way to complete them. Dong-woo was in the equipment room checking his weapons when the emergency alarm started ringing. He knew immediately that something very bad was happening. The base commander, Colonel Park, came running into the room. Dong-woo, we have a problem, he said. A big alien ship just appeared over Seoul. They are demanding that Earth surrender. Dong-woo looked up from his rifle. What do they want? Everything, Colonel Park replied. Gold slaves, complete surrender. They gave us 24 hours. Dong-woo nodded slowly and went back to checking his weapon. What are the politicians going to do? They want to negotiate, maybe give the aliens some of what they want. That will not work, Dong-woo said quietly. These aliens think we are weak. If we give them anything, they will just ask for more. Within an hour, the alien message came through every television, radio, and computer on Earth. General Kwan Ho's ugly face appeared on screens everywhere as he spoke in perfect English. Humans of Earth, he began, his voice cold and threatening. I am General Kwan Ho of the Galactic Empire. Your planet now belongs to us. You will give us 1 million tons of gold, 10 million of your strongest people as slaves, and you will surrender all your military forces completely. You have 24 Earth hours to agree, or we will show you why 1,000 worlds kneel before our power. The message ended, but General Kwan Ho's face stayed on the screens for a few more seconds. His yellow eyes seemed to look directly at every person watching. The message was clear: submit or die. Around the world, people reacted differently. Some cried, some prayed, some ran to their families to hold them close. World leaders called emergency meetings talking about surrender terms and negotiation strategies. But in the secret base under the ocean, Dong-woo was doing something completely different. He was gathering his team. Staff Sergeant Park Min-ho was Dong-woo's best friend. They had served together for 10 years and had never failed a mission. Min-ho was an expert with explosives and could make bombs out of almost anything. Lieutenant Commander Kim So-young was the smartest person Dong-woo had ever met. She could hack into any computer system and understand alien technology better than most scientists. She had joined the SEALs because she wanted to fight, not sit behind a desk. Sergeant Choi Hyun-woo was their demolitions expert. He loved making things explode and was very good at it. Sniper Lee Ji-hoon could hit targets from distances that seemed impossible. Dr. Park Yoon-ji was their medic who could patch up wounds while bullets or flying around her. The team gathered in their briefing room as So Young worked on her computer trying to understand the alien ship. Her fingers moved fast across the keyboard as data filled her screens. "The ship is old," she reported to Dongwu. "Very advanced, but the design has not changed in hundreds of years. They have been using the same tactics for so long they have become lazy good." Dongwu said, "Lazy enemies make mistakes. What about weapons?" Min Ho checked his equipment list. "We have the new plasma rifles that the scientists just finished. The experimental EMP grenades might work against their electronics. That might be enough," Dongwu said. "We do not need to destroy their whole ship. We just need to cause problems." Zehun looked confused. "Sir, what exactly are we planning to do?" Dongwu stood up and looked at each member of his team. "While everyone else is talking about surrender, we are going to show these aliens what happens when they threaten Earth. We are going to board their ship." The room went quiet. Everyone stared at Dongwu. Minho was the first to speak. "Sir, that ship is the size of a city. How can 12 people take over something that big?" Dongwu smiled. "It has been done before. David beat Goliath with just a stone. We have something better than stones. We have training, determination, and the element of surprise." So Young looked up from her computer. "Sir, I have been studying their ship design. It has weak points, areas where a small team could get inside show." "And me," Dongwu said. As night fell over Earth, the alien ship descended lower in the sky. Its massive bulk cast shadows over every major city. General Quan Ho was preparing for what he expected would be humanity's surrender. He had conquered 47 worlds using the same method, threatened them with destruction, and watched them give up. But General Quan Ho had never met humans before. He did not understand that when most species were threatened, they looked for ways to escape or hide. Humans were different. When humans were threatened, they looked for ways to fight back in the secret base. Dongwu team was putting on their gear and checking their weapons one final time. Each soldier knew the mission was almost impossible, but they also knew that someone had to try. If they did nothing, Earth would become just another slave world in the Galactic Empire. As they walked toward their experimental stealth aircraft, Dongwu thought about the alien general message. The alien had demanded tribute, slavery, and surrender. He was about to learn that humans do not pay tribute to anyone. The real fight was about to begin. The experimental stealth aircraft lifted off from the secret base at midnight. While the rest of the world slept in fear, Dongwu sat in the pilot seat, flying the craft toward the massive alien warship that hung in the sky like a dark moon. The aircraft was completely invisible to radar and made no sound as it moved through the night. Behind him, his 11 team members checked their weapons and equipment one final time. Each soldier knew they were about to attempt something that had never been done before in human history. They were going to attack the most powerful warship in the galaxy with nothing but their training courage and experimental weapons. "This is insane even for us," whispered Sergeant Choi Hyun-woo as he looked up at the enormous alien ship through the aircraft window. The ship was so big it seemed to fill the entire sky. Its metal hull was covered with strange symbols that glowed with blue light. "Insane is what we do best," Dongwu replied without taking his eyes off the controls. "We have done impossible things before. This is just one more impossible thing." The team included the most deadly warriors Earth had ever produced. Besides Min Ho So Young and Hyun Woo, there was sniper Lee Ji-hoon, who could hit a target from 3 kilometers away, Dr. Park Yoon-ji, who could perform surgery while under enemy fire, communications expert Kim Tae-min, who could break into any computer system, and 5 other SEALs, each trained to be a weapon in human form. Sergeant Lee Chan-woo was an expert in hand-to-hand combat who could kill with his bare hands. Staff Sergeant Kim Jae-sung knew more about alien technology than most scientists. Corporal Park Sung-ho could move through enemy territory without making a sound. Lieutenant Choi Min-jae was a demolitions expert who could turn anything into a bomb, and Sergeant Major Yoon Dae-ho had more combat experience than the rest of the team combined. As they approached the alien ship, So Young studied her scanner readings. "The hull is incredibly thick," she reported, "but there are airlocks designed for maintenance crews if we can reach one of them. Tae-min should be able to get us inside." "How do we climb up there?" Ji-hoon asked. "The hull is completely smooth. We use magnetic climbing gear." Dongwu explained. "The same equipment we use for shipboarding operations, just on a much bigger scale." The Alien ship was even more massive up close, its hull stretched out in all directions like a metal continent. The surface was not actually smooth, but was covered with small ridges and patterns that made it look like the skin of some giant metal beast. Red and blue lights pulsed along the hull in patterns that hurt to look at directly. Dong-Wu brought the stealth aircraft close to the hull and found a flat area near what looked like a maintenance airlock. The aircraft landed silently on the alien metal, and the team prepared to disembark. Each soldier put on a breathing mask, because they did not know if the air around the alien ship was safe for humans. One by one, they climbed out of the aircraft and onto the hull of the alien warship. The magnetic climbing gear worked perfectly, holding them firmly against the metal surface, even though they were floating in space. The alien ship was so huge that standing on its hull felt like standing on solid ground. Min reached the airlock first and began working on the alien controls. His fingers moved quickly over the strange symbols and buttons that covered the airlock panel. The alien technology was advanced, but it followed logical patterns that he could understand. He whispered into his radio. After 10 minutes of work, the airlock is opening. The massive door slid open with a soft hissing sound, revealing a corridor inside the alien ship. The corridor was huge, designed for beings much larger than humans. The walls were made of the same dark metal as the hull and were covered with more of the glowing symbols. The air inside the ship was breathable, but smelled strange like copper and ozone. The gravity was slightly stronger than Earth gravity, but not enough to slow them down significantly. Move out, Dong-Wu ordered, and the team entered the alien warship. The corridors inside the ship were like nothing any human had ever seen. They were wide enough for trucks to drive through and tall enough for 3-story buildings. The ceiling was covered with pipes and cables that glowed with different colored lights. The walls had alcoves and doorways that led to other parts of the ship. Everything was built on a massive scale because the aliens themselves were massive. An average alien soldier was 3 meters tall and weighed as much as 3 humans, but the huge corridors that were designed to accommodate the aliens actually worked in the humans' favor. We can use the size against them, so Young observed as they moved through the ship. They will have trouble targeting us in these wide spaces, and we can hide easily. The team moved like shadows through the alien ship using hand signals to communicate. They had trained for urban combat in buildings and underground tunnels. The alien ship was just another building to them, except this building was in space and filled with hostile aliens. After 20 minutes of careful movement, Ji-hoon raised his hand to signal contact ahead. 3 alien guards were standing at an intersection of corridors. They were enormous creatures covered in green scales with 4 arms each. They carried energy weapons that looked like they could blow holes through concrete walls. Take them quietly, Dong-Wu ordered. What happened next would have been impossible to believe if it had not been recorded by the team body cameras. The 3 massive alien guards, each twice the size of a human and armed with advanced energy weapons, were neutralized in less than 30 seconds. Ji-hoon took down the first guard with a single precise shot from his plasma rifle. The alien collapsed without making a sound. Min-ho and Chan-woo attacked the second guard from behind using combat knives and martial arts techniques. The alien went down before it could raise its weapon. The third guard managed to raise its energy rifle, but Eun-ji was faster. She threw a combat knife with perfect accuracy, hitting the alien in the throat. The massive creature dropped its weapon and fell to the floor. The humans had not made a sound during the entire fight. The alien guards had been eliminated with surgical precision before they could raise an alarm or call for help. This is too easy, Seung-ho whispered as they moved past the fallen aliens. Do not get overconfident, Dong-Wu warned. These were just regular guards. The real soldiers will be harder to fight. They moved deeper into the ship, encountering more guards at regular intervals. Each encounter ended the same way. The aliens were big and strong and had powerful weapons, but they were also slow and predictable. They had never faced an enemy like humans before. Humans had evolved as persistence hunters on the plains of Africa. They were designed by millions of years of evolution to track prey over long distances, to work together as a team, and to never give up. No matter how hopeless the situation seemed, the aliens had conquered many worlds, but they had always faced enemies who fought like they did, large armies meeting in open battle with superior technology deciding the outcome. The aliens had never fought an enemy that attacked from the shadows, that struck without warning and disappeared before retaliation was possible. We are approaching the bridge, Taemin reported after an hour of moving through the ship. But I am reading massive numbers of life forms between us and our target. There are at least 200 alien soldiers guarding the command center. 200, Daeho said grimly. That is a lot even for us. Then we better get creative. Dong-woo replied with a cold smile. He looked at his team of 11 warriors. Each one was ready to fight against impossible odds because that was what they had trained for their entire lives. They were SEALs, and SEALs never backed down from a fight. No matter how outnumbered they were, the real battle was about to begin. The battle inside the alien warship turned into something that military historians would study for centuries. Dong-woo team moved through the massive corridors like ghosts, striking fast and vanishing before the aliens could understand what was happening. The first wave of alien soldiers came charging down the main corridor toward their position. There were 30 of them, each one 3 meters tall and armed with energy weapons that could melt through steel. The corridor shook under their heavy footsteps as they ran, but the humans were not where the aliens expected them to be. Hyun Woo had planted explosive charges along the corridor walls, while Ji-hoon and Jae-sung had taken positions in the ventilation shafts above. When the aliens reached the kill zone, Hyun Woo triggered the explosives. The blast was enormous. Alien soldiers were thrown through the air as the corridor filled with smoke and debris. But the humans were not done. The real attack came from above as Ji-hoon and Jae-sung opened fire with their plasma rifles, picking off confused aliens one by one. In less than 2 minutes, 30 alien soldiers were either dead or badly wounded. The humans had not taken a single casualty. Impossible, one of the wounded aliens gasped in their strange language. How can such small creatures fight like this? The aliens had made a critical error. They assumed that size and strength were the most important factors in combat. But humans had learned long ago that speed, intelligence, and teamwork could defeat any enemy, no matter how big or strong. So Young had hacked into the alien communication system and was listening to their radio chatter. They are confused, she reported. The alien commanders do not understand our tactics. They keep sending more soldiers, but they are using the same strategy over and over. Good, Dong-woo said. Let them keep making the same mistakes. Second wave of aliens tried a different approach. They split into smaller groups and attempted to surround the human team, but this played right into human strength. Small unit tactics were what SEALs had trained for their entire careers. Min Ho and Chan-woo set up an ambush at one intersection, while Sung-ho and Min Jae prepared a trap at another. The aliens walked right into both ambushes and were cut down before they could react. The humans used the ship's own architecture against its defenders, turning every corner into a potential death trap. Dr. Yoon-ji moved between the team members, keeping them fighting fit. She patched wounds on the run, distributed stimulants that kept them moving at superhuman speeds, and monitored their vital signs to make sure no one was pushed beyond their limits. The aliens keep coming, Taemin reported from his position at a hacked control panel. But their coordination is breaking down. They are starting to panic. Panic was exactly what Dong-woo had been hoping for. Panicked enemies made mistakes, and mistakes could be exploited. The alien soldiers had been trained to fight large battles against conventional armies. They had never faced an enemy that appeared from nowhere, struck hard, and disappeared like smoke. The third wave of aliens brought heavy weapons, energy cannons that could blow holes through the ship hull, rocket launchers that could level buildings, and something that looked like a portable laser cannon. The corridor filled with energy blasts and explosions as the aliens tried to destroy everything in sight, but the humans were not there anymore. They had moved to a completely different part of the ship, using maintenance tunnels and service corridors that the aliens had forgotten existed. While the alien soldiers were shooting at empty air, Dong-woo team was already setting up their next ambush. This is incredible, Daeho said as they watched the aliens destroy their own ship, trying to hit targets that were not there. They are so focused on using overwhelming firepower that they cannot adapt to guerrilla tactics. Humans had been fighting guerrilla wars for thousands of years, small groups of fighters using hit-and-run tactics to defeat much larger armies. It was a uniquely human way of fighting, and it was devastatingly effective against enemies who only knew conventional warfare. Ji-hoon's sniper rifle barked again and again. Each shot brought down an alien commander, sending their troops into confusion. Without clear leadership, the alien soldiers began making even more mistakes. They shot at shadows, jumped at every sound, and wasted ammunition on empty corridors. The fourth wave of aliens tried to use their technology advantage. They brought scanning equipment that could see through walls, motion detectors that could track movement and communication jamming devices, but human ingenuity found ways around every technological advantages. So Young used her hacking skills to turn the alien sensors against them, feeding false information that made them see human soldiers where there were none. Taemin used captured alien communication gear to send fake orders that led entire squads into traps. The aliens had superior technology, but humans had something more valuable. They had adaptability. When one tactic stopped working, they immediately switched to another. When the enemy adapted to their strategy, they changed strategies. The aliens could not keep up with the constant changes. 20 minutes into the battle, alien casualties were mounting while the humans remained mostly uninjured. The aliens had lost over 100 soldiers while the humans had suffered only minor wounds that Yun-ji had quickly treated. On the bridge of the alien ship, General Kwan Ho watched his security forces being systematically destroyed by 12 primitive creatures. His forearms shook with rage and disbelief as reports came in from all over his ship. "How is this possible?" he roared at his bridge crew. 12 creatures cannot defeat the might of the Galactic Empire, but they were doing exactly that. The humans had turned his own ship into a maze of death traps. The corridors that were supposed to protect his crew had become hunting grounds for human predators. Admiral Vex looked at the tactical display with growing horror. "General, the humans are not fighting like any species we have encountered before. They do not try to hold territory or defend positions. They attack and withdraw, attack and withdraw. We cannot predict where they will strike next. Then flood the ship with soldiers." Kenho commanded, "Send every available warrior, hunt them down and kill them." But even as he gave the order, the general felt a cold fear growing in his chest. These humans were not acting like prey, they were acting like predators, and predators were always more dangerous. When they were cornered, the fifth wave of aliens was the largest yet. Over 100 soldiers armed with the most advanced weapons in the Imperial arsenal. They moved through the ship in coordinated groups using professional military tactics. It did not matter. The humans had already moved to the next phase of their plan while the alien soldiers searched for them in the lower decks. Dongwu team was climbing through ventilation shafts toward the ship power core. "If we can damage their main power systems, the entire ship will go dark," Hanwha explained as he prepared his most powerful explosives. "One coordinated strike and their weapon sensors and communications will all fail." The aliens had made another critical error. They had focused all their attention on finding and killing the human intruders. They had forgotten to properly guard their most vital systems. The power core was protected by only a small group of technicians who were not trained for combat. The attack on the power core was swift and brutal. The alien technicians were eliminated before they could sound an alarm. Haiyan Wu placed his explosives with surgical precision, targeting the exact points that would cause maximum damage without destroying the entire ship. The explosion sent shock waves through the massive vessel. Lights flickered and went out. Emergency alarms began wailing as backup power systems struggled to compensate. Half the ship weapons went offline, and many of the alien soldiers found themselves fighting in complete darkness. "Now we finish this," Dongwu said as emergency lighting cast eerie shadows through the corridors. The bridge was just ahead. The bridge of the alien warship was protected by the most elite soldiers in General Kwang-ho personal guard. These were not ordinary troops, but warriors who had been trained since birth to protect imperial commanders. They wore advanced armor that could stop most weapons and carried energy rifles that could cut through tank armor. There were 50 of them positioned in defensive formations around the bridge entrance. They had energy barriers that created invisible walls and motion sensors that could detect the smallest movement. The bridge itself was sealed behind massive blast doors that could withstand nuclear explosions. It should have been impossible for 12 humans to get through such defenses, but the humans did not try to break through the defenses. Instead, they went around them. So Young had been studying the ship blueprints while the team fought their way through the lower decks. She had found something interesting. The bridge had a secondary entrance that was used For emergency evacuations, it was smaller than the main entrance and hidden behind what looked like a solid wall. The emergency entrance was guarded by only 10 soldiers because the aliens never expected anyone to find it, but humans had a talent for finding things that were supposed to be hidden. The attack came without warning. The blast doors to the emergency entrance exploded inward as Haiyan Wu detonated carefully placed charges through the smoke, and debris came 12 figures in black combat gear moving with deadly precision. The 10 alien guards tried to raise their weapons, but they were too slow. Ji Hoon's sniper rifle spoke first, dropping the alien commander before he could give orders. Min Ho and Chan Wu came through the breach like avenging angels, their plasma rifles cutting down aliens with surgical accuracy. The remaining guards managed to get off a few shots, but their energy beams passed harmlessly over the heads of the crouching humans. Dr. Yunji threw combat knives with perfect aim, while Sung Ho and Daeho attacked from the flanks. In 30 seconds, all 10 guards were down. The humans had suffered only minor burns from near misses. The bridge of an Imperial warship was an impressive sight. The ceiling was 20 meters high and covered with holographic displays that showed star charts, tactical information, and communication channels. The floor was made of polished black stone, and the walls were lined with control stations that monitored every system on the ship. In the center of the bridge sat General Quan Ho in a command chair that was more like a throne. The chair was made of dark metal and covered with the same glowing symbols that decorated the rest of the ship. The general's forearms were gripping the armrests so tightly that his claws were leaving marks in the metal around him. Stood his bridge crew, 20 of the most experienced officers in the Imperial fleet. They had been frozen in shock when the emergency entrance exploded, but now they were reaching for their weapons. Do not move, Dongwu commanded as he stepped onto the bridge, his plasma rifle aimed at the general. One wrong move and your leader dies. The bridge crew hesitated, looking between their general and the 12 humans who had somehow managed to board their ship. Admiral Vex was the first to speak. "This is impossible," he said in heavily accented English. "You are nothing but primitives. How did you penetrate our defenses? We are SEALs," So Young replied calmly as she moved to one of the control stations. "We do not know the meaning of the word impossible, General." Quan Ho looked around his own bridge, now controlled by creatures he had dismissed as weak and primitive. His reptilian mind struggled to process what had happened. In 300 years of conquest, no enemy had ever successfully boarded his flagship, let alone captured it. "You cannot defeat the entire Galactic Empire," he said, his voice shaking with rage. "I am but one general. There are thousands like me, millions of ships across the galaxy." "Maybe," Dongwu replied, "but you are the one who made the mistake of threatening Earth, and now you are going to help us send a message to the rest of your empire." "I will never help you," the general snarled. "You will," Min Ho said, pressing his plasma rifle against the alien general's scaled neck, "because the alternative is that we kill you and take over your ship ourselves. We have already proven we can handle your crew." So Young had plugged a small device into one of the control stations and was rapidly accessing the ship computer systems. "I am into their network," she announced. "This ship has real-time communication with the entire Galactic Empire. Every general, every admiral, every emperor is connected to this system." "Perfect," Dongwu said. "General, you are going to call off your attack on Earth. Then you are going to tell every other would-be conqueror in your empire exactly what happens when someone threatens humanity." The alien general looked around desperately for options for escape, for any way out of this nightmare, but there was none. The humans had done the impossible, and their cold efficiency was more terrifying than any enemy he had ever faced. As if to emphasize their point, more explosions rocked the ship as the delayed charges that Haiyan Wu had planted throughout the vessel continued to detonate. The once mighty warship was rapidly becoming a floating wreck, its systems failing one by one. "Your ship is dying around you," Dongwu continued. "Your crew is defeated. Your weapons are offline. Right now you have two choices: help us or become another casualty of human warfare." The word warfare, coming from the mouth of such a small creature, should have been laughable, but General Quan Ho had seen what human warfare could accomplish. His ship was proof of that. What do you want me to say?" the general whispered. "The truth." Dongwu replied that humanity is not to be conquered, that we are not tribute-paying slaves, and that any alien who threatens our world will face the same fate you did. Admiral Vex stepped forward. "General, you cannot do this. The Emperor will have you executed for cowardice. Dongwu turned to look at the Admiral. Do you want to join your general in making this broadcast, or would you prefer to join your dead guards? The Admiral stepped back, his face pale with fear. Min had been working at another control station and looked up. Sir, I have established contact with the Imperial Communication Network. This broadcast will reach every corner of their empire simultaneously. Excellent, Dongwu said. He turned back to the general. You have a choice. Make the broadcast and live, or refuse and die. Either way the message will be sent. We will use your communication system with or without your cooperation. The general's scaled hands shook as he reached for the communication controls. Around the galaxy, thousands of alien commanders would soon learn a harsh lesson about human nature. When pushed into a corner, humans do not surrender. They fight back, and they keep fighting until they win or until there is nothing left to fight for. Broadcast was about to begin, and it would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The aliens had come looking for easy prey, but they had found apex predators instead. General Quan Ho's voice shook as he began to speak, knowing that his words would echo across the stars. The communication went out instantly to every corner of the Galactic Empire, on 1,000 worlds and countless command centers. Alien generals and admirals stopped what they were doing as an emergency transmission appeared on their screens. The Imperial seal flashed on displays across the galaxy, followed by the personal code of General Quan Ho himself. But when his image appeared, the assembled alien commanders could hardly believe what they were seeing. The proud conqueror of 47 worlds looked broken. His scales were dull with fear, sweat, his forearms trembled, and his yellow eyes darted nervously around his own bridge. Behind him stood 12 creatures in black combat gear, their weapons trained on him and his bridge crew. This is General Quan Ho of the 7th Fleet. He began, his voice barely above a whisper. I am speaking under human control. My flagship has been captured, my crew defeated by 12 primitive soldiers from a world called Earth. Across the galaxy, alien commanders leaned forward in disbelief. Admiral Zex Ron of the 3rd Fleet began laughing from his own bridge. This has to be some kind of joke, he said to his officers. Quan Ho is trying to fool us for some reason, but the transmission codes were authentic, verified by Imperial security systems that could not be faked. The communication was real. General Quan Ho was actually broadcasting from his own ship while being held prisoner by aliens from a primitive world. These humans, Quan Ho continued, glancing nervously at Dongwu, are unlike any species we have encountered. They do not surrender. They do not negotiate from weakness. When threatened, they become something else entirely. Something dangerous beyond our calculations on Earth. The message was being broadcast simultaneously through every television station, radio network, and internet connection. World leaders watched in amazement as their planet fate was being decided by 12 soldiers, operating completely outside any official authority in the Pentagon. American generals stared at their screens in shock. In the Kremlin, Russian leaders tried to understand what they were seeing in Beijing. Chinese officials wondered if this was some kind of elaborate hoax, but the evidence was undeniable. 12 human soldiers had somehow captured the most advanced warship in the known galaxy. I came here expecting easy conquest. General Quan Ho continued, his voice growing stronger as he found his rhythm. I demanded tribute, slavery, surrender. The human response was to infiltrate my ship, defeat my guards, and capture me on my own bridge. They have destroyed my weapons, crippled my vessel, and demonstrated that human military capability exceeds our intelligence estimates by several orders of magnitude. Admiral Zex Ron interrupted the transmission from his flagship. This is Admiral Zex Ron of the 3rd Fleet. Quan Ho, this is impossible. 12 primitives cannot defeat Imperial forces. You must be lying or under some kind of alien mind control. Dongwu stepped into view of the camera, his face calm and professional. Admiral, I'm Commander Li Dongwu of Earth Naval Special Forces. Your general is correct. We have taken his ship with minimal casualties on our side. Your impossible just happened. Zex Ron 4 arms waved frantically at his communication officer. This cannot be true. Humans are weak, fragile creatures with primitive technology. How could they possibly? Then come and find out for yourself, Dongwu replied evenly. Earth will be waiting. The admiral fell silent, his yellow eyes wide with shock. The human had just issued a challenge to the Imperial Navy, and the tone of voice suggested that the human actually expected to win such a confrontation. Transmission continued for another hour with Dozens of alien commanders demanding explanations, threatening retaliation, or simply staring in stunned silence. But as reports came in from sensors monitoring the captured ship, the truth became undeniable. 12 humans had boarded an Imperial warship, through direct assault defeated hundreds of trained soldiers and captured the commanding general. The ship weapons were offline, its systems were failing, and its crew was either dead or captured. Commander Zarketh of the 5th Fleet was the first to ask the question that was on every alien mind. General Quan Ho, how is this possible? Your ship carried 5,000 soldiers armed with the finest weapons in the Empire. How could such a small force, fight like nothing we have ever encountered? Quan Ho replied, his voice gaining strength as he spoke the truth. They do not fight fair battles or follow conventional tactics. They appear from nowhere, strike without warning, and disappear before retaliation is possible. They use our own ship against us, turning every corridor into a trap, every system into a weapon. So Young looked up from the control station she had been working at. Commander, I have accessed their military databases. These aliens have conquered hundreds of worlds, but they have always used the same tactics: overwhelming technological superiority, combined with threats of total destruction. Most species surrender without fighting. That explains why they were unprepared for us, Nongwu said. We did not surrender, we fought back with everything we had. Admiral Vex, who had remained silent during most of the broadcast, finally spoke up. These humans do not think like civilized species. When faced with superior force, most intelligent beings seek negotiation or surrender. But humans seem to become more dangerous when cornered. They fight harder when the odds are against them. Exactly. Dongwu said, that is what makes us human. We do not give up. We do not back down, and we do not pay tribute to anyone. The broadcast reached its climax when So Young displayed tactical recordings from the battle on screens throughout the galaxy. Alien commanders watched in horror as their supposedly invincible soldiers were systematically outfought by human warriors using primitive weapons and basic tactics. The recordings showed humans moving through the ship like ghosts, appearing from ventilation shafts and maintenance corridors that the aliens had forgotten existed. They showed alien guards twice the size of humans being taken down in seconds by superior human speed and precision. Most shocking of all, the recordings showed humans working together as a perfect team, each soldier knowing exactly what the others would do without needing to communicate. It was a level of coordination that most alien species could not achieve even with advanced technology. By the end of the transmission, 3 things were clear to every alien in the galaxy. First, humans were far more dangerous than anyone had realized. Their small size and primitive technology had hidden the fact that they were among the most effective warriors in known space. Second, Earth was now under the protection of beings who would fight to the death for their world. Any invasion would face not panicked civilians, but trained soldiers who viewed impossible odds as just another challenge. Third, the easy conquest that General Quan Ho had promised was revealed to be a deadly trap. The humans had not only defeated an Imperial fleet, but had done so while broadcasting their victory to the entire galaxy. As the transmission ended, alien commanders across the galaxy began making urgent calls to their superiors. Some recommended immediate military action to crush this human threat before it could spread. Others suggested opening diplomatic relations with this dangerous new species, but all of them understood one fundamental truth. The balance of power in the galaxy had just shifted. Humanity had announced its presence not with words or treaties, but with the capture of an Imperial warship. The message was clear and simple: Earth was not prey, they were predators, and the hunt had just begun. 3 months after the incident that military historians would call the Quan Ho humiliation, the political landscape of the galaxy had changed completely. The footage of 12 humans capturing an Imperial warship had spread through every civilized system, and the reactions were as varied as the species themselves. Some alien civilizations, like the Peaceful Meditation Collective, sent diplomatic messages welcoming humanity to the galactic community as equals. They offered trade agreements, cultural exchanges, and mutual defense pacts. Their message was simple: we wish to be friends with beings who fight so effectively. Other species, particularly the warrior cultures, responded differently. The Bloodclaw Empire issued formal challenges demanding honorable single combat between their champions and human warriors, the Steel-Scale Confederacy offered to hire human soldiers as mercenaries, promising vast wealth in exchange for military service, but most alien species simply updated their star charts with a new classification: Earth dangerous, do not approach without peaceful intent. The classification was unprecedented in galactic history. Never before had a single world been marked as too dangerous for an entire galactic empire to attack. It was a testament to the effectiveness of 12 human soldiers who had proven that size, technology, and numbers meant nothing against superior tactics and unbreakable determination. General Quan Ho had been returned to Imperial space in a small shuttle along with his surviving crew members and a simple message from Earth newly formed Space Defense Command. The message contained only 8 words: Earth is under human protection. Approach peacefully. Only the general himself had become a cautionary tale within Imperial military circles. His testimony before the High Command had been devastating. Humans, he reported, possessed a level of tactical flexibility, physical resilience, and psychological determination that exceeded anything in Imperial databases. They are persistence predators, he had told the assembled admirals and generals. They never stop hunting, they never stop fighting. We have conquered species with superior technology, superior numbers, superior physical strength, but we have never faced a species that simply refuses to be defeated. The Imperial response had been swift and practical. All military commanders received new orders regarding Earth. The planet was to be avoided completely. No Imperial ship was to approach within 1 light year of the Sol system without explicit permission from High Command on Earth itself. The success of Dongwu mission had triggered a revolution in military thinking. The 12 SEALs had proven that human tactics and determination could overcome seemingly impossible technological disadvantages. This led to the creation of humanity's first interstellar military organization. So Young had been promoted to head Earth's new alien technology division. Her job was to reverse engineer captured Imperial equipment and develop new weapons based on alien technology. Within months, she had created plasma rifles that were more effective than anything in the Imperial arsenal. Min Ho became the commanding officer of the Human Space Forces training program. His job was to prepare humanity's first generation of space qualified special operations soldiers using lessons learned from the Imperial ship capture. He developed training programs that turned ordinary soldiers into space warriors. The other members of the original team all received important positions in the new Space Defense Command. Ji-hoon became head of the sniper training program, teaching soldiers how to fight in zero-gravity environments. Hai-in-woo led the demolitions and sabotage division, while Yoon-ji established the Space Combat Medical Corps. Tae-min took charge of electronic warfare and alien communication systems. His ability to hack into Imperial networks during the mission had proven invaluable. Chan-woo became the hand-to-hand combat instructor, teaching soldiers how to fight aliens who were twice their size. The 5 other team members, Jae Sung-ho, Min Jae, Dae-ho, and the others all became senior instructors in their respective specialties, each one trained hundreds of new soldiers, passing on the skills that had made their impossible victory possible. But the most significant change was in how other species viewed humanity. The galaxy had operated for thousands of years on simple principles. The strong conquered the weak, technology determined victory. Numbers decided battles. Humans had shattered all of these principles by demonstrating that strength was not just about size or technology. It was about determination, adaptability, and the willingness to keep fighting when everyone else would give up a year. After the Quan Ho humiliation, the first real test of this new reputation came. The Vrex Confederation, a collection of aggressive alien species, decided to test human resolve by claiming mining rights in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. They expected the same response they had received from hundreds of other species: diplomatic protests followed by eventual submission. When faced with superior firepower, instead they were met by Commander Dong-woo leading a flotilla of human ships crewed by soldiers who had learned from the best. The engagement lasted exactly 6 hours and 13 minutes. No human ships were lost. The Vrex Confederation lost half their fleet and issued a formal apology within days. They also requested immediate trade negotiations offering favorable terms in exchange for human Protection against their enemies. Word of the second human victory spread even faster than the first. Within weeks, alien species from across the galaxy were sending diplomatic missions to Earth. Some came seeking military alliances. Others offered trade agreements or cultural exchanges, but all of them came with respect. The age of humans, being seen as primitive creatures, was over. They were now recognized as one of the most dangerous military forces in known space. As Dong Wu stood on the bridge of humanity, first interstellar warship, watching former enemies line up to establish diplomatic relations, he remembered General Quan Ho's original ultimatum. The alien had demanded tribute, slavery, and surrender. Instead, he had given humanity something far more valuable. He had given them the opportunity to prove that they belonged among the stars, not as subjects or slaves, but as equals who had earned their place through courage, skill, and the absolute refusal to back down. The ship around him was built using a combination of human engineering and captured alien technology. It was faster than Imperial ships, more maneuverable than Confederation vessels, and more heavily armed than anything the Bloodclaw Empire had ever built. Crew was composed entirely of humans trained in the new methods that the original 12 had pioneered. They were ready for anything the galaxy could throw at them because they had learned the most important lesson of all: humans do not fight fair, they fight to win. Looking out at the stars, Dongwu thought about the future. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe. They had allies and trading partners, they had respect and recognition, but most importantly, they had proven that no matter how advanced or powerful their enemies might be, humans would never surrender. The galaxy had wanted to make humans pay tribute. Instead, they had learned to pay humans respect, and in the cold depths of space where only the strong survived, respect was the most valuable currency of all. The age of human expansion into the galaxy had begun not through conquest or colonization, but through the simple demonstration that when humans are threatened, they do not run or hide, they fight back and they win.